Thank you. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to part 2 of the Sales versus Marketing workshop. Thank you again for spending yet another lunch hour with me today. There's a lot of content to cover today, and I will need your participation. So I will be asking questions during the presentation, and I would appreciate it if you could type your answers into the chat box as we go. And then at the end, we will open up for Q&A, and you'll be able to unmute yourself and ask more specific and longer questions. Now, when you have unmuted yourself, because this is a webinar, your video still wouldn't show up, but it would be really useful if I could just talk to you. So remember to just unmute yourself, and if it's like a very long one, just don't type it out. It's much easier for us. If we do run out of time, do come to our business strategy advisory clinics at the Central Library, and we organize one every 2 months, and you'll have 3 hours, not 15 minutes to ask your questions, and also you'll be able to learn from other people's questions. So without further ado, let's begin our Sales v Marketing Part 2. So a little bit about myself, essentially. In the year 2000 to 2005, I studied at 2 colleges at the same time. In day school, I studied engineering at NUS, and night school, I did ACCA at Oxford Brookes University. And then also at the same time, for about 5 years, I worked for this company called IRM, which is Interoga Radiators Manufacturer, and they are located in Johor at that time. So in 2005, I actually found a job in finance, and every 4 months I moved to a different country to work on a different location, but my base was based in Los Angeles. So I moved to Hong Kong, Geneva, London, Singapore, and my last project was in London before I fell hopelessly sick and then was kind of forced to start my own business in property management. So in 2009, I just went around buying property after Lehman Brothers had collapsed and managed to get a lot of properties for quite cheap in Canary Wharf area. So then since then, I've just sort of, been financially free, retired, and, but in 2011 was sufficiently bored. So I came back, I bought a tech startup in Singapore. And they were a mobile app developer and also a social media engagement agency. So in 2013, after, I did some, bring in a bunch of middle management to free up the director's time. And also, we did a bunch of lead generation and really pushed for expansion. We were acquired for the $1 million+ range. Now, these days, I have been teaching entrepreneurship at NUS, SUSS, and right now, a collaboration with, National Library Board. And also, just this year alone, I started a MAID social enterprise called MAID Without Borders. And I'll talk about it a little bit more later on. But what we are trying to do is to reduce financial exploitations of maids at agencies, because I feel that it is really terrible for someone to have to pay 6 to 8 months of their salary in order to find work. But more so, we are finding that we need to help caregiving families in Singapore basically find maids more effectively. And we can do that through certain search criteria via AI. So I'll talk a bit more about it right at the end, but not right now. Let's just jump straight into the course itself. So in August this year, I was asked by NLB to address those who are currently considering leaving their corporate jobs to start their own business, or those who have already lost their jobs and are looking for new opportunities. So I did a business resiliency talk at the Skills Future Festival, and the Corporate to Entrepreneurship series was then born. I've since partnered with NLB to train budding entrepreneurs with a full set of workshops every month, including this Sales versus Marketing one. We then hold business strategy clinics every 2 months to help people apply that content directly to their own businesses. So do keep a lookout because there's always something lined up every month all the way until June 2025. So last week, we spoke about the key difference between sales and marketing, and it is the way it makes the customer feel. So everybody loves to buy, but nobody likes to be sold. Everybody wants to go to the shopping mall, buy, buy, buy. But when someone shows up at their doorstep to sell them something, they chase the guy away with a broom. Essentially, marketing is creating an environment for people to buy. To recap the buyer's pyramid, remember that every time you bring traffic in, and traffic is represented by the entire pink sales funnel here. Every time you bring traffic in, you'll always have that 1 to 3% right at the top here that are ready to buy from you now. And on the opposite end, you'll always have 30% who will never buy from you. Maybe, they own a family business and they have an uncle who already produces exactly the same thing you're trying to sell them. Or, they're on a different technology. They would never use that ancient technology that you're trying to sell them. So essentially, remember that there are always people that would buy from you. There are always people that would never buy from you for every single set of traffic that you bring into your particular website or your social media channels. And the key here is to use certain marketing tactics to reach more segment of buyers in this funnel. So remember that last week I showed you 2 story videos by 2 property agents. So remember Jeff Tan and his self-praise marketing? When you're using testimonials and telling people how great you are and you're the best in the industry and we are the best carpet cleaners in the world, for example, you are only going to attract the ready buyers. So Jeff Tan will unlikely convert more than 10% of the traffic which he brings in, which is only the first 2 segments of the buyer's pyramid. So imagine Jeff Tan is spending all that money trying to bring in, 10,000 people traffic into his website or his, WhatsApp. But then he's only able to convert 10%, which is actually quite a low ROI. Now, remember that we use story selling and education-based marketing to reach the 3rd and 4th segments of the buyer's pyramid. And the way that we do this is by structuring the message with positive titles or negative titles. Negative titles allow you to reach the 4th segment and convert more people there, but you do not want to constantly use this to have people not, associate your brand negatively. So you use this very, very sparingly. When your title says 5 ways to save money on agent fees, you can reach 40% of your traffic. But when you add a fear component to that story or that education, you're going to realize that, for example, if you say how to lose 26,000, more people are willing to listen in this case, 70%. And this was the home seller approach. So if they brought in 20,000 people traffic into their website or their WhatsApp number, then essentially they're able to convert a maximum of 70%. In this series, I teach 2 ways to create this environment of buying. Last week, we spoke about story selling, and today I will address education-based marketing. So it's not uncommon these days for you to be on YouTube and watching all these videos offering to teach you something or offering, use some kind of free webinar to teach you about investing or how to invest in property in the UK. It is frankly one of the most powerful tools in marketing. So Simon Sinek says to start with why. So let's ask ourselves what the objectives of education-based marketing is. So number 1, you create education-based marketing primarily to establish yourself as the leading industry expert. And this gives you credibility, authority, and good standing amongst your peers. Essentially, it is better than Jeff Tan basically using testimonials to tell everybody how great it is. You use education-based marketing to really secure yourself as the leading industry expert. So when I owned TechSailor in 2011, we were merely one out of more than 20 companies in Singapore doing the same thing, social media and app development. So I created a monthly event called Solomon Thursday, where we invited famous and top speakers in marketing to come share their experiences in marketing and what makes their marketing great. And then in between every kind of 4 to 5 speakers, we would slot ourselves into one of these events to speak about a topic or cases that we had done for our clients. And this really then positioned ourselves as one of the top in the industry because, we're seen to be speaking alongside these really famous people. And eventually the people who bought our company actually told us that they found us through Solomon Thursday. So education-based marketing is really, really powerful. And the second reason why we use education-based marketing is to teach others a logical buying approach that would make your product the clear choice. And we call this setting the market buying criteria. So now let me walk you through the mechanics of how this is done. Let's walk through a typical client journey. So you are buying a fridge for your newly renovated home. Say you go to a website called appliancedirect.com. You're on the search filters. So your budget is about 1,500. And because you're keeping your cabinets black and white, you want the appliances to stand out. So you pick blue or orange. Volume, you don't know what that means in liters, but you want it to be big. So you select the biggest one on the check boxes. And in your mind, you have this, you know that you have a family of 6. So you're thinking maybe American fridge freezer, but I don't know how to put that on this search filter. So you say, how many doors? Well, why would you care about this, frankly? So you just put 2 because you want a fridge freezer. So 1 for the fridge and 1 for the freezer. And you don't have water pipes connected to your fridge area, so you don't care if their fridge has a water or ice dispenser. Materials-wise, you aren't sure, so you just click everything, stainless steel, aluminum, plastic, because you don't know what you're doing. Energy saving, you don't know what that means in kilowatt hours, so you just click that. Okay, as long as there's a green leaf on that thing, I don't care. I just want it to be energy saving. I don't know what that means. So now you hit the search button, and you find that you have a short list of 45 fridges, and that is way too many to choose from. So you go back and then you refine your search criteria. So now we go back to the search filter and you tighten your requirements. And your budget is now, instead of 1,005, you decide that it's now 1,000. Materials-wise, you say, oh, stainless steel just sounds more lasting. So maybe just go with stainless steel. So you don't want aluminum, you don't want plastic. And now you hit the search button again. And this time, you shortlist 3 fridges. Now you can finally choose which design you prefer. So you've refined your criteria. And this is the process that most people go through when making a purchase decision. So a fridge manufacturer would want to develop a methodology that is suitable for people to logically choose their fridge to buy. That no matter what the other search criteria are, they will have a higher probability of showing up in the final shortlist. And you do this by becoming a primary search filter. So if the fridge manufacturer knows that they have the lowest industry standard for dollar per liter, they'll create a whole education video teaching people about how the most important criteria in choosing a fridge for energy saving is to always select this extra metric called less than $10 per liter. And this would rig the buying criteria in their favor, because if this becomes one of the primary search criteria, then they will always show up on the shortlist. This is how you tell people what they should buy and what they should consider when they're buying something. This is education-based marketing. So question time. Please type in the chat box in one single line. Tell me, what are the things that you would consider when you are buying a fridge? Just type in the chat box, please. So some say price, some say the size of the fridge, some say the energy consumption, some say the brand, special features and functions. So thank you so much for this. So you can see that there is no one dominant criteria. This is very common when non-experts are trying to do something, which is they have no clue. Education-based marketing gives them the fake feeling of confidence that they know what they're looking out for. And this is the very reason why education-based marketing succeeds, because they make people feel like they know something, they feel smart, they go out and they give advice to other people based on the criteria that you had set, and you create the expert. So essentially, before the education, the person's criteria is loose and uninformed. After the education, they feel motivated on how to use the criteria that you teach them how to use. So essentially, education marketing makes the expert. To illustrate this, question time again. Can you tell me, in again, one single line, can you tell me which is the premium beef that people would pay more money for? Basically, both are the same ribeye, both are from Australia, and one is grain-fed. Which is the premium beef that people will pay more money for? The left one, grain-fed. I have another question for you now. Can you tell me and answer this question? All cows eat what? Thank you. Grass. Anyone who learns the piano would know this. All cows eat grass, isn't it? So let me go back to my thing. So essentially, naturally, cows eat grass. But with industrialization of farms, it's practically impossible to get enough grass pastures for factory cows to feed on. So the factory resorted to feeding cows with grain and corn, but this is not a natural food for them. It gives them a lot of digestion problems. So these cows are subsequently sick a lot. So they pump them up with a lot of antibiotics. But you see, the consumer is not the expert. The company makes the expert. They can literally make you believe anything. When they tell you through their pricing model that grain-fed is basically a premium thing, people believe it. Remember that with education-based marketing, you make the expert. You create in their minds what is premium and what isn't. And you can even make them believe that what is truly bad for them is actually something that they should be choosing. The consumers are not the experts. You define what is good in their mind. So back to the fridge example. So say you are a fridge manufacturer that has the most eco-friendly fridges in the world. But you've known that consumers don't care about the sustainability videos. They do care about their pockets though. So how do you go about creating a brand or education around sustainability? This is what I would do. I would spend $2,000 starting a trade association for global appliance manufacturers. Now, this association would create an accreditation for the Blue Clover standard, only for appliances in the world with A++ standards. Greenleaf could even cover things like B+ appliances. So it's not enough. So as the trade association, I decide what the kilowatt hour consumption for each type of appliances should be. And appliance manufacturers around the world needs to pay me accreditation fees yearly to be able to use the Blue Clover on their fridges. I would trademark the logo for the jurisdictions that I sell in. I would then spend a further $800 getting an influencer or celebrity to create a YouTube short talking about, have you seen the energy prices today? Greenleaf is not enough. You have to move to Blue Clover for fridges to ensure that you can save up to $7 a day. So you can say something like, in the past, it doesn't really matter. You can just use Greenleaf because, the prices of energy is not what it is today. But have you seen the energy prices today? So essentially, this kind of education basically covers two concepts. You could tell them that, hey, you save $7 a day. This means a Starbucks Frappuccino. So what it does is it taps on two concepts, right? It taps on what we call trending topics. So the trending topic in this situation is high energy prices today. Like, have you seen the energy prices today? Like the difference between A++ and B+ literally means $7 a day. And then the thing is, you don't just stick with $7 a day. You do this concept called anchoring. Because $7 a day doesn't mean anything to the consumer's life. But one bubble tea or one Starbucks a day is something that they can relate to. So anchoring actually creates stickiness in people's minds. This is the two concepts, anchoring and trending topics. So the hallmarks of success for education-based marketing is as follows. This is why it is critical for setting market buying criteria. So I spoke extensively just now about the high energy prices today and the Starbucks coffee. So essentially the first one would be to use trending topics and use anchoring to create stickiness in people's minds. The second point is use real data and hard facts. So you quote your statistics from reliable organizations. And if you don't have those kinds of statistics, you can also create your own studies with at least a respondent rate of more than 30 people to make it statistically sound. So if you quote statistics that says, studies have shown that, nobody will ever go and read the fine print and realize that actually you created your own study. A lot of this is done by pharmaceutical companies when they're selling you some kind of, vitamin or things like that. They always do a studies have shown, and then when you go to the bottom, actually only 30 people were tested, or a very small study was done. But once you show people that studies have shown, they're never going to not believe you for some crazy reason. So the third point is you use market data, not product data. So you can say, save $6 a day by switching from green leaf to blue clover. This is better than blue clover is the highest rated at XXX kilowatt hour. Use market data, not product data. The fourth thing here is you need to establish that you know more than your prospect. When you are doing education-based marketing, don't tell them about their industry. Tell them about your industry so that you don't get called out for falsehoods and lose all your credibility by trying to teach them about what they specialize in. And remember that number 5, which is, even though I say that, you don't use credibility, as in you don't use self-praise marketing, a huge part of education-based marketing is after you've given the education, you do have to partner yourself up with big brand names. So when best buyers buy, other best buyers buy faster. So you show them all the big names you've partnered with, you show them the press releases, and remember, the education marketing is about building credibility. So some self-praise is required, but it's not in isolation. So before we move into examples of education-based marketing, I want to make sure that you know the importance of call to action, whether it's in story selling or in education-based marketing. So I'll let you watch a quick guide from Marketing 360. And there's one thing that I will like you to know, which is generally if you want to put your call to action, generally what you want to do is to put your call to action at the start, middle, and end of every marketing video or slide. This is called reinforcement or reminder. Generally for online videos, just focus on one single call to action because it's too short and people's attention span on their phones is not high. But when you have a webinar or a physical training like this that goes on for about an hour, you may be able to introduce more than one call to action per 2 to 3 slides. If you want to pursue the call to action strategy, you need to have all the dictionary of links at the top. And then what you do is you repeat that dictionary of links again right at the bottom. Otherwise, it's going to be lost. So remember, start and end. And then in the middle, as you're talking about it, bring the call to action. Now let's look at some of the examples of education-based marketing, whether it was done well or done badly. Oh, sorry. Before we go into that, I haven't let you watch the video yet. So let's watch this video and hope they don't give us an advertisement. Oh, they are going to give us an ad.
Want to turn more clicks into customers, and just that. Tip number 1, and it all starts here, you need to determine what your users or your customers or your prospects really truly want at the end of the day. So when they come to your website or when they see one of your advertisements online, what do they truly want when they get to your landing page? And you really need to give them that. So maybe they want pricing, maybe they want information, maybe they want to see scheduling. You really need to think about, put yourself in their shoes and try to understand what do they truly most want when they click through to come to your landing page, and that needs to be the core of your call to action. That's where you start. Tip number 2 is you want it to stand out. So when you determine what your call to action is, whether that's get plans and pricing or get information on the 7 tips to XYZ, when you figure out what that call to action is, you need to make sure it's above the fold on all devices, whether it's a desktop or a mobile device. You want to make sure it's right there dominantly displayed. One good idea here is to make it a different color than everything else. We call that the call to action color, and that should carry throughout your site so it's easy to identify with the eye and find. And then make sure if you have a long page of content, you integrate that call to action throughout so that the user constantly has it visible on the screen of their device no matter where they are on the page. Tip number 3 is to keep it short and sweet. Don't have it real wordy. Keep it very concise, very short, very sweet. It should literally fit on one button. worth of content, and use keywords for urgency like now, today, free. Things like that are going to stand out to people and incentivize them to move forward quicker. Tip number 4 is think about adding some directional cues. Directional cues would be arrows. It could even be pictures near it with people pointing. Those things, as funny as it sounds, actually help. It helps steer your eyes where you want your eyes to go to get somebody moving down the path of conversion. Tip number 5 is it includes some social proof near your call to action, whether that be the number of customers you've worked with, your success stories, some of your review statistics, maybe some awards. Trust builds confidence, and confidence leads to conversion. So make sure that content is nearby your call to action. Tip number 6, and this is a common mistake, but it's to make sure that your ad copy leading to your landing page exactly matches your call to action. So in other words, if you're running ads on Google or on Facebook, let's say, and you're saying you're advertising something, when they click that to go to your landing page, they should literally see exactly the same thing with the call to action. Integrate your call to action, whether that's hit free plans and pricing or get information on these particular topics, put that in your ad copy, but also have that dominantly displayed on your landing page so that the user that clicks it gets what they want. That's going to lead to conversions. So many people have ad copy that doesn't match their landing page or their call to action, and those are wasted clicks. You spend money typically with advertising on those clicks. So you don't even want somebody to click it if you're not going to give them that information. So make sure that it's clear in your ad copy, clear on your landing page, clear your call to action, and that'll give you better results. Tip 7, last tip, is to A/B test. Try a couple different call to actions, see what works better. Maybe run one for a month and see how it performs, then run another one for a month and see how that performs. And then compare the data and then use what's working. It's pretty simple. So think of a couple variations and just A/B test that so you ultimately end up with the best product at the end of the day. Bonus tip of the day, if you're not sure on what best call to action to use, take a quick look at your competitors. Search them on Google, look at them on social media, go to their websites, look at their landing pages, and just analyze what call to actions are they using? How are they using them? Put yourself in the consumer's shoes. Which one would you pick? The one that you would pick is probably what consumers would pick as well. So then take those ideas and implement those on your site. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just use what's working, what's already out there with common knowledge by just doing some analysis on your competitors, and that's a good way to start.
So thank you for listening to that. So remember that whether or not you're using story selling or education-based marketing, if you don't have a good call to action, it's going to lead to no conversion. So that is an extremely important science that you have to learn, call to action. So let's look at a few examples of education-based marketing and, whether or not it was done well or done badly.
So in conclusion,
So Phillip Capital actually creates these investor education for its clients. They do it via events. And this is a great way to teach them how to trade and how to trade often. So you can see that all the titles are positive. So if they use this to drive traffic, they might reach 40%. And in this situation, what I would do is suggest some negative titles too, such as, is the bubble here? Is the market downturn coming? And then this would be the kind of thing that helps them to target the 70%, because more people would listen in when they think that they're going to lose money. But because Phillip Capital only limits this to existing clients, I believe that they have lost a great opportunity to actually do lead generation for gaining new traffic. What I believe that they should do is allow people to attend this maybe one time, or to allow people to maybe bring a friend, their existing clients to bring a friend. And they would then need to use a sales closing at the end of each event, reminding new joiners that they can continue to join this exclusive club and learn more about, investments, and but they need to become clients. This creates urgency, and then, this helps to drive more lead generation into the Phillip Capital family. So remember, after everything that you're doing, including these types of events, the very base thing is you are generating traffic and you're driving conversions. This is all about education-based marketing. So if you're not doing that, it's really a wasted endeavor. So remember that education videos don't have to be long. They can also be life hacks and YouTube shorts. This one is concise and it features a single clear call to action, but it needs better formatting, if you ask me. So in this situation, let me show you the video first.
Vidya, are you not feeling cold? What's your secret? I actually have body hormones. Like this is something that you stick to your base layer. It generates heat and it keeps me warm for 10 hours. It's amazing. You should read it.
So in this situation, you can see that what she does is, she's teaching people how to survive the harsh, cold winters, blah, blah, blah. And she says that if you want to buy this, and she puts her affiliate link here as to how to find the thing. It's great, but I feel that her call to action should literally, the link to buy should be moved right to the top. Because remember that when people are looking at videos on their phones, they don't want to scroll too far to be able to achieve that, action. So you want to make things as simple as possible. On the next slide, we have a YouTube short. I'm not going to show you the short, but it illustrates, 6 crazy spinners. And this is an example of a description that is extremely well formatted compared to, Vidya's formatting of her description. And he keeps this to 2 call to actions, and he put direct product listings in order so that it is easily readable. Now, if you do Amazon drop shipping and you cover a lot of jurisdictions, you can even further segment your product listings, your product listing links by your country. So in this situation, you can see different affiliate links for the US, the UK, and Canada. So it's extremely easy for your customers to go, oh, I want to buy this particular camera or whatever, but this is the country I'm based in. And I will talk more about the concept of affiliate marketing in the 3rd part of Sales Fee Marketing Workshop. But in this situation, what I want to illustrate is the fact that these people have done a education video on what is the best camera or what is the best crazy spinner. And then they gave you an ability to buy that product. So this is what I call education-based marketing, because they're teaching you how to compare, they're setting the criteria, they're setting the standards, and then they're putting the listings at the bottom. Now, this is an example of an education video for, oh, this is what you should buy for your father for Father's Day. This description is not well formatted. There's too much space, and the funny dashes isn't great for a phone interface, so people won't bother scrolling all the way down. But the product listings are great in the description. But remember that you must always check the interface of the description and see how your text shows up on desktop, iPhone, iPad, Android phone, and any other possible interface there are. And once you start getting used to the different types of interface, you will learn to structure your information a little bit better. So this is an example of a bad description. Now let's go back to education-based marketing, and I want to stand in the shoes of Sunkist Premium Orange Juice. So say Sunkist has hired a mom influencer to go to the supermarket to do an expose on the supermarkets. This mom influencer would be somebody who does food recipes for healthy baby foods and things like that. So she always wants to buy natural foods for her children. So she would go to, say, the supermarket, and she'll pick out 2 orange juice, in this case, Sunkist and Fruit Tree. And she says to people, look, both are 100% orange juice, but Sunkist is $5.95 and Fruit Tree is $2.77. It's not the same, right? I mean, but it's the same thing, it's the same orange juice. Both are 100% orange juice. And then she goes, no, I've never felt so cheated in my life. Today, I'm so angry because I finally read the labels and I'm shocked. So she would point to you and she would say, look, Sunkist orange is pure squeezed orange juice. Now look at Fruit Trees, juice from concentrate, and the mom would go, how can this be allowed to be labeled 100% juice? And then the mom would go back, and she'll say, I cannot believe I've been feeding my kids polydextrose, sulfites, and stevia extract. And she goes, I feel so cheated. I feel so angry. And she goes, I've looked through the entire juice aisle and only one is real. Only Sunkist Premium is real, pure, squeezed orange juice. The rest are all fake. And she would end with, please, parents, please be careful and stop buying fake orange juice pumped up full of chemicals for your kids. If I wanted to buy processed drinks for my kids, I won't even pay $1.50. Why would I pay $2.77 for Fruit Tree? So do yourself a favor and buy the real thing. It's expensive for a good reason. how powerful and how viral will such an education be? It literally would create a lifetime change of behavior where your consumers are actively looking out for your brand. This is one way you can do education-based marketing. Now, the very last example of education-based marketing is to show you the guru himself, which is Steve Jobs. He truly changed the game on how education-based marketing worked. He used anchors, he used real data with reference points. But unfortunately, the video was way too big and it crashed my PowerPoint each time I tried to embed it into this video. So I'm just going to put it on the links. Azalea is going to help me put that on the links. And you can go back and find it. And I really highly encourage you to watch it because it would really solidify in you how to redefine buying criteria in a person's mind and what education-based marketing truly means. In summary, you take a holistic approach to sales and marketing. What you want to do is to create a variety of marketing materials. You still need to create product information and competitor stacks for your salespeople to close with. You still need FAQs to reduce the burden on your customer service folks. And then you need SEO, EDM, and social marketing strategy to ensure that you remain on the top of people's minds. But the key thing here is to follow the concept of trending topics. To talk about trending topics is a 2-hour workshop in itself, so I won't go into it. But you need to follow this guy called Ryan Reynolds and learn about this thing called fastvertising. So if you just go to YouTube, you type Ryan Reynolds fastvertising, a lot of people will give you that short education thing about it, and it is like one of the most powerful things. And it does this whole thing about how they take trending topics and really just write alongside the trending topics so that you have higher traffic, higher conversions. But of course, don't limit yourself to only this. This is a common mistakes by companies. You also need a thorough lead generation strategy to generate traffic and to create good marketing materials, to use story selling and education-based marketing to focus on actually reaching 40% of your funnel. But anyone who has done content generation or follow-up sales know how time-consuming and difficult this is. And you cannot do this on your own if you don't have the resources to do it. I've linked 2 companies that I use, Exabloom and Studio 20 at the bottom here, which is companies that I use because I really don't have the resources in Singapore to do this as well. So Exabloom focuses on this thing called AI sales regeneration, and they are the only company in Singapore doing this. And I think the others are mostly based in the US. Then I use Studio 20, which is a digital agency, but they're based in Kuala Lumpur. And I use them for my content strategy because they're based in Malaysia, not Vietnam or India. So they understand our culture better and they come up with better content that will actually appeal to Singaporeans. But if this is your first time doing content strategy, there's actually no harm going to an agency first. So you have an understanding of how it's done before you try and fly on your own. Now, if you don't go to Exabloom, and if you do go to Exabloom and Studio 20, I have links to their website. I think it's in here. It's quite short, so I won't bother to put it on the links. But after you have finally milked this 40% as much as you can, what I would do is I would use AOV and LTV strategies like promotions, referrals to basically stretch the funnel a little bit further before the last resort of going back for another very expensive advertising campaign to generate a new pink funnel in its entirety. Remember that traffic is very expensive, so you should be focusing on conversion rates. Everything you do is meant to be connected to traffic, conversion rate, average order value, and the lifetime value of a customer. So do not forget that every strategy needs to tie to these 4 elements. So thank you very much for listening to this workshop. We will open up for Q&A soon, but before that, I just want to bring your attention to other seminars coming up with NLB. We're left with part 3 next week, so do remember to sign up to that. Azalea is going to put the links to part 3 in the chat box. And in that session, we're going to talk about AI tools for sales and marketing, and also basic introductions to affiliate and influencer marketing. There's also a session on good boss, bad boss that speaks about leadership in the middle management and why this level always seems to be firefighting. Do sign up for that if you want to figure out how to stop firefighting, essentially as the middle management. And even better, send it to your boss at work and make them attend it. But we don't have the links for that yet. Just keep a lookout at maybe part 3 when we would have the links for it. Meanwhile, I highly encourage everybody to attend the physical session called the Business Advisory Strategy Clinic. And this is the place you go to ask any questions related to applying our workshops to your specific industry or business. And you have 3 hours to ask questions and also to listen to other people's questions. And it's a very fun session. I do hope that, I invite all of you to come join us at the Central Library. And it's going to be it's a really amazing session. And the last session that we had, everyone was complaining that there wasn't enough time. And that's why we moved it from 2 hours to 3 hours. So moving on. So meanwhile, if you want to find out more about the entrepreneurship courses that I teach at NUS or SUSS, or if you'd like to bring me in as a consultant for your business, or if you want some startup advice, or you think we can partner up together, just connect with me on LinkedIn. If you also have more questions after this talk, come to one of our business strategy clinics. Or if you're a chronic patient suffering with your condition, because I have 3 chronic illnesses, I'm happy to have a cup of coffee. Connect with me on LinkedIn and just send me a message. Now, if you're looking for maids and you want to hire them directly using your SingPass and then completely not need to use a maid agency, you can basically scan this QR code and we'll let you know when we launch during Chinese New Year, and we'll send you a golden voucher as well. So Maid Without Borders is essentially an app for you to find a maid, and then we would basically walk you through step by step what you need to do. And, because you've logged in via your SingPass, you'll be able to get your maids, directly. We would not need a maid agency, and we'll guide you through where to get your insurance and where to get your medical checks from and what you need to do. And it's actually quite simple. You'll be quite surprised how little your maid agencies have needed to do in the past. So finally, there are 2 feedback forms that you need to fill out. If you fill out my feedback form, I'll send you a copy of my entrepreneur's guide and also the basic summary of some of the frameworks that we have done from session 1 to 3. I'm not going to send any of these toolkits until we're done with session 3. So just make sure that you fill out my feedback form, and then I'll make sure that you get it by the end of this month. And it would also contains, the entrepreneur's toolkit would actually contain some useful referrals to AI tools and also like services like online banks and corporate secretaries that I use for my own company. Also, don't forget to fill out the NLB feedback form and give me a raving review if you want NLB to bring me back to teach you more on sales or marketing or leadership. So again, thank you very much for spending your lunchtime with me. So question time. Anybody with questions, do unmute yourself and, let's have a conversation.
Hi, Juliet. I think there's a question from Aaron earlier. What
Okay.
is the difference between market data and prod data?
What's the difference between?
Market data and prod data, I think production data.
I think market data you're talking about. So if you say my carpet cleaner has so if you clean carpets and you say my carpet steamer is able to clean don't know what units per meter square, people won't understand this. They don't understand product specifications. But what you do is you do comparative stuff. So you say that my carpet steamer can clean carpets 15 times more than you vacuuming your carpets. So that is essentially the difference between, and I'm going to close that. That's the key difference between market data, basically trying to do comparative studies between what people understand and avoiding basically product data. Did I kind of answer that question?
There's another question from Hui Hui. She is requesting for you to go to the second last slide because she has a question on that. So she doesn't have the question yet until she does the slide.
What's the second last slide? Wait, if you could switch on your kind of like unmute yourself so you can walk me through what I need to go to, that would be extremely helpful.
She says the slides before your details.
The slides before, okay, I need to share back first. Okay, so the slides before this one?
On strategy, the slides before the details on strategy.
This one. Oh. Okay. So what's the question, Hui Hui?
Also, Juliet, just to ask, CJ is asking whether they have to fill up the feedback form for your site again because they already did it last week.
So if you filled it up last week, you don't have to do it again unless you want to change your review or you have more information that you want to add. But it would be seen as a collective sales versus marketing feedback form. So you just have to do it once. Thank you.
So, Hui Hui's question is why affiliate marketing?
Why affiliate marketing? So it's basically another channel. So you have multiple channels of distribution. So actually we are talking about maybe creating another course in kind of April onwards. I think May, June, July, we might be doing a whole 3-part series again on channels of distribution. So affiliate marketing is one of the ways in which you can sell your products. So most people now, they in the past when technology wasn't that great, any company that tried to go into another country or another jurisdiction, or they're just trying to start up a whole new set of products on their own, or creating a brand, what they needed to do in the past was to find a global distributor who would then find local distributors to go do the distribution for their market for their products. But in today's world, with technology, with all these social media and stuff like that, it's much simpler if you just launch an affiliate marketing program. Again, I'll talk about affiliate marketing really extensively next week, so don't miss that session. It's actually a very huge channel on its own, and it really, like, if we wanted to talk about affiliate marketing, we can talk about this for 5 hours because that's my course in NUS. But I would give like a really brief summary next week. And I think that if you ignore affiliate marketing, you really ignore one of the largest networks in the world, which is just the consumer themselves. So affiliate marketing is really, really, really powerful. I highly encourage anybody to use that as one of their channels of distribution. It is not the only one. Anything else?
Okay, there's a question from a participant. So if she wants, she is unable to attend your physical strategy clinic in December, but she wants to ask a friend to come down and attend the session through real-time video call. Is that okay with you?
I don't know. That's an NLB question.
Yeah, I think should be okay.
Okay, so
Yeah, if you're
if you can
comfortable with
do
that.
like a live stream or things like that, that's a question for NLB, because my discussion with Jen was that this would only be a physical session.
Okay. And I will need to check with Jen on this. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right. Okay. Hold on. Okay, there's a question from Ken. How do hold on. How do you know people associate your brand negatively, since it will become a talking point if you use negative titles occasionally?
I think there are a few analytics tools that you can use to find out about things like that. Mostly to do with the SEO related stuff. I don't really know the tech parts of these. I think I always just outsource this to my staff in Studio 20, and then they would tell me what the trending topics are and what people are talking about. Is this whole concept called social listening. If you just went to Google and you just type in a few kind of like the keywords would be social listening, and then you type your brand name, you'll find a few apps and a few websites that basically they crawl through the entire website and they tell you whether or not generally you are associated positively or negatively. So that's a whole other thing called social listening.
Okay, there's one more question from CJ. How do we measure the ROI on education-based marketing? Would it help to promote competitors' product services instead?
You do that through A/B testing. So essentially, every time you do a campaign, what you want to do is you want to figure out whether or not education-based marketing was suitable for the type of product that you're trying to launch, or is it better if you go down the story route, or is it better that you go down whatever other route? Is that every time you do something, so you have a baseline first, which is what you're currently doing, and then take down all the analytics of every single thing, like figure out how many clicks, how much traffic came through, number one. Number two is how many people clicked. And number three, of all the people that clicked, how many took the action that you wanted them to take? For example, buy your product or, download your brochure, that kind of stuff. What you want to do is to track your analytics. So track your analytics on your baseline campaign first, what you've always been doing. Then make a tweak. And that first tweak would be, let's try education-based marketing. And then again, find out what's the traffic that came in, what was the conversion, and of the conversion, how many actually led to that sale, basically. So once you do enough of this campaign testing, which is why, if you don't know what you're doing right at the start, it really is better for you to just approach a social media agency, and they would teach you what the criteria are and what the analytics are that you need to capture. They would maybe even just do 2 campaigns with you, and then they will show you side by side sort of like what the difference between the analytics are, and then advise you to go down whichever route. For your particular product, it is better to do, education-based marketing, or for your product, it's better to run down social story selling, or affiliate marketing is better than distribution, or in your situation, because you're selling pipes, you might want to just do B2B, and then B2B would not be affiliate marketing. So essentially, you want to test a few channels and see what works and what doesn't. And the way you do that is to create and read your analytics really well. And then even when you're doing education-based marketing, and if you want to figure out whether or not, the positive and negative, whether or not how much conversion that generated, what you want to do is to, again, run an A/B test for that exact same content. What you want to do is take a negative twist to it and then publish that on, the social media again, and then to see what the reactions of people are and what the conversion rates are at the end of the day. But the only thing that would truly tell you whether or not you had succeeded or one is better than the other, essentially, is the numbers, is the analytics. But even then, when some people are doing story selling, they're not really doing the correct story selling. Like, for example, Jeff Tan. If he basically went back to his social media marketing agency and said that, oh, you did the story, but story selling sucks, it doesn't work, it's because he didn't do story selling. So you have to be quite careful to follow the hallmarks of what it means to do these concepts, and to understand the concepts of why people will convert higher to these particular types of stuff. If you are kind of like just, selling something, but you're not really converted buying criteria, you've just highlighted that, these are all the product specification for my product. That's not education-based marketing. So you have to be quite careful to say that, oh, education-based marketing doesn't work, or social selling doesn't work. It's just that the way that you did that particular video didn't work. Is there any more questions?
There's a follow-up question from the same person, CJ. So he says, for example, in your first episode talking about real estate agent services, how do we measure the ROI as the product, the property is high quantum, high value, and sometimes people may take action many months down the road?
So that's the whole concept of when you are basically tracking a particular video all the way down to that action, actually the number of, it depends on how you want to measure that action. So for example, for property, when people are looking at the video and they are kind of like looking at specific property videos, then you could say that that property closes in 6 months. It doesn't close now. So how do you track that? Those are very rare, and that's not what I'm teaching. So story selling and education-based marketing follows a brand. It follows a person. It follows kind of like, we're doing a whole video of Jeff Tan, and we're tracking the statistics of Jeff Tan. So it is essentially over time, you would be able to see that once he changes that marketing angle, then you would be able to track on a month-to-month basis what his conversions are, what his analytics are, and then that will help you to sort of understand, sort of like in the month that we played that video, and in the month that we were doing this particular thing, essentially Jeff Tan had a spike of, you know, I don't know, 10,000 people in traffic. So you know that that particular video worked. But then the thing is, a lot of that is comparative, right? So if Jeff Tan took his numbers and he compared it to what Home Seller did, then he wouldn't actually be able to, you know, it's very hard to look at your competitor data. Really, really, really difficult to tell your competitors to share their data. So a lot of times it's just historical. You're looking at your own data, and then you're comparing it against other people, and over time. So essentially there are different tracking tools, and this really isn't my specialty. So you have to talk to somebody who basically does, you know, data analytics and basically tracking. So there might be other ways in which you can track those data. But essentially, when you are taking a certain action, you are essentially looking at the campaign, and then you're just tracking just 2 or 3 months down the line only, because it is very, very rare that your video continues to be seen if you're not pushing that video out to your feeds. So for example, for Facebook, for example, they do content suppression. So they will only allow you to your video to be shown to other people when you're paying the actual ad fee. Once you don't pay the ad fee anymore, it almost never gets shown. So you know, your video just keeps going down the SEO line. It's not optimized anymore because other people are paying Facebook, so they would see other videos, they wouldn't see yours. So you wouldn't naturally say that, you know, after this video is shown, you know, how long before that property is bought or stuff. You wouldn't track one single property. You would track the generic portfolio of that particular agent, if you get what I'm saying. I'm not sure if this answers your question.
So there's no other questions for now. I will just do a quick resource sharing from NLB. Okay, so the first resource that I am sharing is our LearnX Careers link tree. So just scan the QR code that's on screen to access our LearnX Careers link tree. So in this link tree, you will be able to find links that for our LearnX Careers page, our LinkedIn Learning, Business Library for eBooks, upcoming career-related programs, as well as NLB launch service and program, which is for aspiring entrepreneurs. So the links to all these resources are also in the chat box. And here are some curated career titles for this year. So just scan the QR code if you are interested to borrow any of the ebooks that is on screen. And I just want to share more about this launch. So launch is a service by the National Library Board to support aspiring entrepreneurs, micro businesses, and freelancers by opening doors to resources, communities, networks, and spaces. So with launch, you will be able to get curated lists of resources, guides, ebook business databases, and articles that point you in the right direction. We also have launch specialists that are available to answer your questions and provide the information and guidance that you need. And we have programs, workshops, webinars that provide ideas, knowledge, and networking opportunities. So there are no QR code for this. The URL for this, for the NLB launch website is on the screen, also available in the chat box. And we also have some upcoming launch programs. So two of them has been mentioned by Juliet earlier, which is the Sales versus Marketing Part 3 and the Business Strategy Advisory Clinic. There's also one more physical program where you can learn about online banking and e-payments. So this will be on the 5th of December at the Central Public Library. So the URL for the Eventbrite NLB launch programs are also available on screen and in the chat box. And of course, NLB survey, do help us to fill in this survey and share with us what you like about today's program, or if there's any programs of similar nature that you'd like to see in the future, or if you have any compliments for Juliet, feel free to also write them in the feedback form as well.
So just a quick reminder that you fill in my feedback form to get the entrepreneurship toolkit and also the summary of frameworks, but you have to fill in the NLB feedback form so that they will ask me to come back if you like my workshops. So thank you.
Let me just share the feedback form again.
So Ken has a question on, give me 1 second. If you put links in YouTube or social media, will the algorithm suppress it since it is diverting traffic away from the platform? The general answer is yes, but it depends. There are a lot of ways around this, and to talk about this would literally be another 2 hours. But in general, it depends on the platform. So if you're doing it on platforms like LinkedIn, for sure, if you put links, they will definitely suppress it. But there are certain ways to go around doing this. So if you are in TikTok, for example, and you can run links within the TikTok entire network. So, you know, the live stream is leading to your e-shop in your TikTok shops in TikTok, and then stuff like that. It wouldn't drive it away. So what you can do is you link it to your shop. And then after that, within your shop, there are links that actually take them outside to basically make their purchases. So that could also be something that you could do, so that you could redirect. But then again, if you put too much steps in between, it will also kind of like reduce, you know, increase the dropout rates. So again, the best way to do this is to get a digital agency to just advise you the first time, so that, you know, based on what kind of platforms you need to be on, because, you know, you're attracting a different type of, you know, base target audience, then it's a different platform, it's a different strategy, it's a different algorithm. But if you want to read up the best practices, I highly suggest you just type best practices, Facebook ads, and then it will tell you what not to do in those algorithms. But again, the platform's algorithm are changing on a monthly basis, I would say. In the past, it wasn't so bad when you put in a link into Facebook, and then now it's like they kick you out instantly. They would suppress your thing. But when you're doing links on ads, they won't suppress your ad because, you know, essentially you've paid for it. So there's different ways around it. But if you're using just content strategy alone, without paying ad money, then essentially, yes, don't do external links in your posts. How you do it is you run it via their internal system. So even Facebook has like events links and stuff like that. You run them through a intermediary, and then that links them out. But of course, you'll have dropout rates along the way because you make your processes too long. But that's better than getting suppressed, in my opinion. But you have to A/B test this because depends on your clientele and how short they are on their patience. Thanks, Ken, for that question.
Juliet, just to confirm, for those that fill in the form, the toolkit will only be sent to them after the third session ends, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, because there was a few questions asking about the toolkit. After they fill in the form, they have not gotten it yet.
Okay. No, they'll only get it after the third session is done, so that I can consolidate everyone and just blast one time. Sorry for the delay, guys.
Yeah, I think there are no more questions.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, since there are no more questions, we will just proceed to end the session. So thank you again, Juliet, for the wonderful session. Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Right. And thank you everyone for joining us during your lunchtime. We really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.